Welcome back to The Explainer. So today, we're tackling a topic that brings this amazing, dizzying excitement, but also, inevitably, a healthy dose of pure panic. We are talking about building your very first Proxmox Homelab. If you've got a fresh server sitting on your desk right now and your head is just full of massive ideas, well, you are exactly in the right place.
Okay, let's dive into this pre-flight briefing. We're going to cover the big Homelab dream, why you really need to build it twice, backups before building, the classic VM versus LXC debate, pacing your deployment, and we'll wrap up with the controlled crash. Step by step, we're going to walk you safely right out of that beginner panic.
Section 1. The Big Homelab Dream. Ambition meets reality.
When you first get into virtualization, your single server completely morphs. It's no longer just a computer, it becomes this tiny apartment building full of services. In our source material, they talk about a setup featuring a totally beastly Minisforum MSA2 workstation. It's packing a Ryzen 9 9955HX processor, a massive 4TB NVMe SSD, and 32 GB of DDR5 RAM. Now, on paper, that sounds like infinite power, right? But the reality? That 32 gigs is going to disappear shockingly fast once you start spinning up those virtual apartments.
Because it usually starts with this ultimate beginner fantasy, this incredibly ambitious project list. You want a SIEM or syslog for your network gear. You absolutely need Home Assistant for automation, right? And hey, let's throw in a Zential server to handle Active Directory, DHCP, DNS, and Radius. Oh, and IMIC for your photos, Jellyfin for streaming media, Frigate for your security cameras. It is a gorgeous dream. Until the reality of storage costs, vanishing RAM, and complex best practices actually hits you like a pair of steel-toed boots.
Let's move to Section 2. Build it twice, the brutal best advice.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it addresses that heavy emotional weight of wanting to get your setup absolutely perfect on the very first try. The Homelab community pushes back incredibly hard against that instinct with some really tough love. Do it once, just to learn, and do things wrong. Now, at first glance, that sounds terribly inefficient, doesn't it? But actually, scratch that. It's not laziness at all. It is absolutely crucial training.
The concept here is that your first install is basically a sandbox. Wiping early is dramatically cheaper than trying to untangle a solid year of bad decisions later down the line. In that first go-around, defaults are totally fine. Mistakes are expected. You need to click around, mess up your storage mappings, and delete things. You literally have to feel the kickback of the power tool before you do the real permanent build.
Section 3. Backups before building. The recovery habit. So, the moment your household starts relying on your Homelab, it instantly goes from a fun project to critical infrastructure. And because of that, the sources emphasize a very strict order of operations for your second build. You make notes from your sandbox, wipe the machine entirely, reinstall the better way, and then, this is key, implement backups immediately. A single 4TB NVMe drive is not a backup, guys. You absolutely must build the recovery habit first, relying on tools like Proxmox Backup Server running on a totally separate machine.
All right, Section 4. The VM versus LXC debate. The real identity crisis.
This is the core technical dilemma. The rabbit hole of architectures runs incredibly deep, and it traps pretty much all beginners. So let's look at the trade-offs. On one side, you've got virtual machines, or VMs. They behave like entirely separate machines, which gives you strong isolation, but they come with a significantly higher resource cost. On the flip side, we have Linux containers, or LXCs. They are highly efficient, lean, and fast, but they share the host's kernel and can trap you in this insanely complex permission maze. The beginner fantasy is that there's just one perfect architecture out there, but the neutral reality is that every single choice has a bill attached.
And some users are incredibly blunt about that complexity bill. Like this quote from our sources, "I avoid LXC, more trouble than they are worth." I mean, that captures the spiritual crisis of containers perfectly, right? LXCs are amazing, right up until you have to deal with bind mounts, user ID mappings, or that really painful switch between privileged and unprivileged containers just to share a simple folder across your network.
So, how do you actually decide? Well, looking at this matrix for internal and trusted workloads with low overhead, your recommended architecture is an LXC container. But for exposed and messy workloads, anything internet-facing, you really want a full VM. A home VPN, a reverse proxy, your identity stack, attackers do not care if your server rack is in a fancy data center or just sitting in your basement. Risky services absolutely deserve the strong isolation of a full VM.
Section 5. Pacing your deployment. Staging the services.
Let's move to and see how this builds out over time. You need a strategy so you aren't launching everything at once, like some sort of fireworks accident. Here's your 4-step path. Step 1, core hygiene. Get your updates, storage, and backups sorted. Step 2, build just 1 or 2 services. Take it slow. Step 3, test their lifecycle and do some dry run restores. Then, finally, Step 4, expand to those complex identity stacks. Pacing it like this ensures that a single failed VM experiment doesn't accidentally ruin the whole household's Wi-Fi.
And while we're talking about building, there's a really modern wrinkle we have to watch out for: the AI hallucination trap. Modern AI assistants are fantastic rubber ducks for explaining broad ideas, but because the jargon overlaps so heavily, VM, LXC, Docker, bind mount, volume, bridge, AI will confidently hand you the wrong Docker command for an LXC layer. And the thing is, the machine won't correct you. It will just silently fail. So use AI for concepts, not for blindly pasting commands.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 6, the controlled crash. Setup is not a finish line.
You see, Homelabs rarely fail through loud, dramatic explosions. They usually fail through quiet neglect. So deploying monitoring tools like Uptime Kuma or Grafana early on is just a massive game changer. And here's the really tricky part about those quiet failures. Month 3. If you picked the wrong architecture or if you ignored backups to rush into building shiny new services, you won't realize it on day 1. You'll realize it in month 3, when those bad choices finally reveal themselves and your RAM just completely runs out.
So it all comes down to this question. Will you treat your Homelab setup as a finish line or as your first controlled crash? Expecting mistakes requires humility, but it's honestly the very first real best practice of Homelabbing. I hope this explainer helps you approach your purposeful, perfectly messy first build with lots of clarity and excitement. Thanks so much for exploring this with us today. Keep learning, keep experimenting, and we'll catch you in the next explainer.